welcome to the Fandom Academy podcast. This is Rich. I am flying solo today. We are giving Dan and Kyle a podcast off because today will be a Game of Thrones podcast. The series has ended, but I'm going to do a few one off podcasts, just something to keep the love of the show alive until we do get some of the Game of Thrones spin offs that we've been promised. So, no Kyle, no Dan. You just have me, Rich, here talking Game of Thrones. Just a quick few plugs before we get into things today. You can find us on all the social media platforms: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the usual podcast platforms. We are now on YouTube, so you can look for us there. And we have a good website going, fandomacademy.com. And Kyle just set us up with a new shop where you can get Fandom Academy podcast gear. So let's get into it. Here's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, I know that Game of Thrones didn't end well for a lot of people. For a lot of people, I can't talk about the show with them. People like Kyle, people like Dan, some friends of mine, for them, the show has become toxic because, as I even have to admit, they did not end the show in a fashion that they started the show. First 5 seasons were perfect, and sixth season was absolutely brilliant, and then seventh and eighth, it's sort of they missed the mark on a few things. So what I am hoping to do here is renew some of our love for Game of Thrones and celebrate what we did love about it. What I want to do today, the subject today, we're going to look at two top 8 lists. Game of Thrones traditionally, their second to last episode, so episode 9 for most of the seasons, that was their big episode. They never came out and said it, but we found the trend and the tradition was that the second to last episode was the epic episode, almost like the finale episode. And then the season finale would be more of an epilogue, more of tying things up. So, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to run down the best episode 9, 1 through 8, or actually 8 through 1. We're going to rank them in order. And then we're going to rank not the best season finales. That would be almost too easy. What I want to do is I want to rank the best finale moments, how the season finale ended in the last scene. We're going to rank those last scenes in order. So let's work backwards. We're going to look right now at the best episode 9. The best second to last episode. Yes, I know season 7 and 8 did not have 10 episodes, so we will adjust accordingly. But the best second to last episodes of all 8 seasons. So before I get into that, a couple of honorable mentions. There are 2 honorable mentions I want to make. There are 2 episodes, the third to last episode, episode 8, 2 different seasons that normally would have made the most epic list, but they were the third to the last episode. So in season 4, we had the episode The Mountain and the Viper. That was episode 8 of season 4. The Mountain and the Viper, the trial by combat on behalf of Tyrion Lannister. Epic episode, maybe the best combat episode, one-on-one combat. And then in season 5, episode 8, Hardhome. That battle at Hardhome, north of the Wall. We got the Night King in that episode, raising the dead. That episode, probably the most honored episode as far as awards go. So those get a couple of honorable mentions because they were not episode 9s. They were not the second to last episode. They were episode 8. So I just wanted to mention. Okay, let's get into our ranking. The top 8. Okay. Best episode 9. The first episode, number 8 is season 5, The Dance of the Dragons. This was the one that Hardhome was the episode right before this. This is the one where we had the fighting pit of Meereen, the one where the last Harpies attacked Dany and Drogon came in and saved her. And it also had the episode, the moment, the death of Shireen, where she was burned at the stake by Melisandre and her parent Stannis. This is the lowest ranked, episode 9. Fighting Pit of Meereen was cool, but when you hear the other ones, you'll know why it's the last one. It was good, not as great as the others. The next in our ranking at number 7 comes from season 8, and it is episode 5, the second to last episode. This was the finale season. This was the episode The Bells. This is when Dany destroys King's Landing. As you can see, it's ranked pretty low. It's second to last. If it stood on its own, I mean, this should be a brilliant episode. If we knew at the end of season six, if I had told you at the end of season six, when Dany was sailing across the narrow sea to Westeros, if I said there's going to be an episode where the Golden Company is defending King's Landing and Dany has the Northerners with Jon. She has the Dothraki, the Unsullied, and she has her dragon. We'll just say one dragon, and she just levels King's Landing. You would say, "Oh, I can't wait to see that episode." But unfortunately, we know the flaws. We talked about it a lot. There were too many things that made this episode wrong, where I just can't rank it higher. As much as I was okay with certain things, it's just way too divisive. Technically, cinematography, all of it, it was brilliant. But on the Game of Thrones scale, I'm sorry, it's at the number 7 ranking. Number 6 comes from season 1, the episode named Baelor. This is the episode where our beloved Ned is beheaded. Now, a lot of you might say, why isn't this ranked higher? This was it. This really was the starting gun for Game of Thrones, letting us know that they are not messing around and characters don't have plot armor. And the star of the show, Ned Stark, played by Sean Bean, is killed. Oof. I think part of the reason why I had this ranked so low, two reasons. One, as the series progressed, the second to last episodes got epic, more and more epic and epic and epic. So they did outdo themselves. And number two, I came into Game of Thrones at the start of season 2. I knew that Ned was going to die when I watched season 1. It had already aired. I'd read about it in Entertainment Weekly. It was a big deal. So for me, it didn't have the emotional oomph. So yes, that's looking at it subjectively and not objectively, but that's why it ranks at number 6. And again, like I said, as we go forward, you'll see that there are more epic episodes. So number 5, we have season 7. Episode 6. This was a shortened season. Episode 6, the second to last episode of season 7. This is the episode titled Beyond the Wall. It is the battle with the Night King and the death of the dragon Viserion. This again was a flawed season. People didn't like it, but this was an epic episode. There were plot holes. There were many plot holes. You know, the fact that Dany was able to get beyond the wall so quickly with her dragon after they sent a raven from Eastwatch. I get it. I know there were things wrong with this, but I'll be honest with you. When I, every now and then, when I'm not binging Game of Thrones and I just want to watch an episode, this is one of my go to episodes. It's beautiful. It's brilliant. It's just, when they're trapped on that little frozen island in the middle of that lake in the middle of the night, and you see all the whites and the White Walkers in the dark. It's just beautiful. It's the kind of thing that I should see on the big screen. And this was the battle with the Night King. And again, we have the death of a dragon. It was a big episode. So it ranks for me number 5 out of 8. Moving forward, number 4, the second to last episode of season 2, Battle of Blackwater, the episode titled Blackwater. This was a great season, and it all culminated. We knew that Stannis was coming to King's Landing. Tyrion was the star of this season. He was running the kingdom. He was going back and forth with Joffrey, with Cersei. He was consolidating power, and he was the only one doing anything to prepare the city for battle. And it culminated in the Battle of Blackwater. Really, I mean, when you think about it, this is season 2, episode 9. This was the first mega episode with the mega special effects. That moment in Blackwater Bay with Wildfire, when Stannis' fleet explodes, that's when we knew that this series was it was above all other series. So this was a great episode, and it comes in for me at number 4 of the best episode 9s. Now we get to the top 3. Number 3 comes from season 4, episode 9, The Watchers on the Wall. It is another battle episode. This is the Battle at the Wall, also known as the Battle of Castle Black. It is when Mance Rayder brings all his wildlings, his 100,000 strong army, to the wall, and the decimated Night's Watch, led by Jon, um, they have to defend the wall. It's a great episode. The almost three-quarters of the episode is the battle. There's some stuff in the beginning of the episode, and then it goes to the battle, and they devote a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of beautiful technical effort to this battle. It's a great episode. It gives us, epic battle on the wall, them climbing the wall. We have giants, we have all of it, and then we have the battle inside of Castle Black. And of course, we have a really deep emotional scene with the death of Ygritte. Powerful, emotional. This is a great battle. This is a great episode. Comes in at number 3 for me, ahead of the Battle of Blackwater. It was a tough call between those two, I'll be honest with you. Okay, now we come to the top 2. This is tough. These 2 were a little tough, but they are different, so, I looked at them differently. The second best, episode 9 of Game of Thrones, comes from season 3, The Rains of Castamere, and this is the Red Wedding episode. Yes, for a lot of people, Ned being beheaded was a moment of just jaw-dropping, but I think for everyone that didn't know this was coming, the non-book readers, this was even bigger. The Red Wedding, I'll never forget the moment I saw the Red Wedding. You go on YouTube, and there were book readers who were recording their friends that didn't know this was coming when this episode aired and recorded their reactions. You can go watch great reactions. I did that with somebody the night after it aired. I recorded them when we watched it, and they watched it for the first time. The Red Wedding just tore us all apart. I remember thinking prior to this episode, wow, well, Rob's just going to walk away with this, and can't wait for him to sit on the Iron Throne. And the Red Wedding just destroyed us. It was brutal. It was it. It was one of the most epic moments in television history. I think of all the epic moments of Game of Thrones, this is the one that's the most epic moment in television history. This is the one we pick for the TV annals of history. So it comes in at number 2. It should be number 1. It really should be. But the number 1, second to last episode of Game of Thrones comes from season 6, Battle of the Bastards. Episode title, Battle of the Bastards. Was there any doubt? This was it. This is the best battle of the show. It is a brilliant episode. It is beautiful. And in the context of when the episode aired, for those of you that came to the show late and were able to binge episode, you didn't have the experience that a lot of us watched where we had to wait week to week. And we had the slow torture of seeing what was happening to the Starks. They were just brutalized. Sansa was brutalized. Arya had it so rough. Robb, Ned, Catelyn, Bran beyond the wall. By the time the Battle of the Bastards came, we didn't know if Jon was going to survive. There were moments where we thought this is it because he didn't have the plot armor that he'd have later in season 7 and 8. But it was scary. It was nerve-wracking. It was tense. It was an amazingly filmed battle. There are videos on YouTube dissecting the brilliance of how this episode was filmed. And what makes this episode extra special is the whole episode isn't just the battle. It also does start with Meereen, the slavers in Slaver's Bay attacking Meereen, and the fireballs going, and Dany and Tyrion figuring out what to do. And then the epic moment where they meet with the leaders of the slavers, and they negotiate, and Dany gets on her dragon, and the dragons destroy ships in the bay, and it has that element of it in that episode too. And then the moment where Yara and Theon Greyjoy meet Dany and Tyrion, that's one of my favorite scenes of any episode of the series. I like that exchange. So an epic episode, the Battle of the Bastards, that also had, a little bit of gravy to it with the good scenes in Meereen. So that is my list of the best second to last episodes of the whole series. These were the big episodes. The Fighting Pit of Meereen in season 5. Season 8, Dany destroying King's Landing. Season 1, Ned being beheaded. Season 7, Beyond the Wall with the Night King and the Death of the Dragon. Season 2, the Battle of Blackwater. Season 4, Battle at Castle Black. Season 3, Red Wedding. and season 6, the epic, massive Battle of the Bastards. That's my list. Now, our second list. These are not the best season finales as far as episodes go. These are the best ways that the season ended, the final scene. That's what I'm ranking alone, not just the whole episode. How did these season finales leave us wanting more? How did it end what was always a great season? Yes, seasons 8 and a little bit less, season 7 aside. We know those are a little more volatile, but we loved them. Seasons 1 through 6, they were perfect. And we were just right there, riveted. How did they end the actual season? Okay. Coming in at number 8, season 7. This is by far the weakest of the season finale ending moment. This is Danny in Yunkai when she liberates Yunkai, and we have that famous shot of her from above with the Yunkai surrounding her and lifting her up, calling her Misha. That's the name of the episode, Misha. It means mother. Um, it was a nice moment. Yes, she liberated them, but it was a weak way to end season 3, which otherwise was a brilliant season. So, not going to talk too long about that. Coming in at number 7 was the first season, season 1, the episode title Fire and Blood. This was the birth of the dragons. Danny had put Drogo on the pyre and the witch Miri Mazdur, and she went into the fire with her 3 dragon eggs. And at the end of the episode, morning comes, the fire's burned out, and there's a naked, unburnt Danny and the birth of 3 dragons. Yes, it's a cool moment, but 2 things about it. Again, as I mentioned before, I knew this was going to happen. I came to season 1 late after it had aired. Entertainment Weekly showed me a picture of dragons. I said, all right, I'll check the show out. So again, good moment, good way to end season 1, but it comes in at number 7 on my list. Number 6 comes from season 8, the final season, episode titled The Iron Throne. I want to put this one higher. I really, really do. I didn't hate this season as much as everybody did. This season and series ended with the montage of the Stark children, how they were ending. Arya sailing west of Westeros, Sansa on her wooden chair crown in Winterfell, Bran, and then Jon. It ends with Jon going at Castle Black, going north of the Wall with the Free Folk and Tormund. This really should be higher on the list because it's how the series ended. And personally, I did love it, but I can't ignore the flaws. It did end a flawed season, and it is the series finale. And in its context of what led us there in that season, it does have a little bit of flatness to it. So it comes in at number 6 out of 8 seasons. Moving forward, number 5, season 4. The title of the episode is The Children. This is a good one. This is where we find Arya sailing for Braavos. And it also, that scene comes right after Tyrion kills Tywin. So it's a great season finale. Just to remind us all, put it in context. Poor Arya has struggled so much. She was there at the Statue of Baelor when Ned was killed. She was traveling with the Night's Watch when they were attacked. She was in Harrenhal, the horrors going on there. And then she was taken captive by the Band of Brothers, and then she was taken captive by the Hound. And then when she went to go to the Twins to meet up with her family, the Red Wedding happened. And then when the Hound tried to take her to the Vale, her Aunt Lysa died. This poor girl could not catch a break. Our hearts broke for her. She was never safe. She was always around trauma. And then the Hound, yes, did have that fight with Brienne. He left her for dead. She left him for dead. And we think what's going to happen with Arya, and revisits where she met Jaqen H'ghar, gives her that coin. Meet any man from Braavos, say Vala Margolis, and he'll take you to Braavos, and I will train you. And now we get a good, finally, things are looking up for the Starks. Things are looking up for Arya, and there's that moment of her sailing to Braavos. It made us feel good. We were happy. And again, that's right after what could have been the final scene Epic moment. Tyrion kills one of the best characters in the first 4 seasons of the show, a character whose void they never replaced, the mighty Tywin Lannister. It was a great, great moment. So that comes in at number 5. You hear how much I'm talking about that? I love that season ending moment, but it's number 5. Season 4 was a great season too. So great way to end it. All right, moving on in our list. Coming in at number 4, we have the final moment of season 2, the episode Valar Morghulis. This is the moment when the Night's Watch are still north of the wall, and Sam and Ed and um, Gren, I think I forget his name, they see the army of the dead and they take off. They leave Sam on his own. Now, we hadn't seen the White Walkers for a while. Um, we're now 20 episodes in. This is the season finale of season 2, and we saw the White Walkers very first scene in season 1, and we hadn't really seen much from them. Now we see them again. Not only do we see a little bit of them, we see the army. We see a White Walker on the horse. We hear the screech. We see, okay, this is an enemy and a presence that we need to be concerned with going forward. It's a great way to end the season. And this moment comes right after in Karth, Dany at the House of the Undying, when she has her vision, and the Iron Throne, all that. The warlocks of Karth had stolen her dragons. This was a great moment. Dany, I know, would have ups and downs right up till the end, but this is the moment where they captured her, put her in chains, and we start to see her power and the power of her dragons when she says Dracarys, and she lights them up. This is the moment people really fell in love with Dany, and people started naming their kids Khaleesi and saying, I want to be her. So that comes in at number 4. Sam seeing the army of the dead right after Dany in the House of the Undying and her Dracarys moment. Okay, let's get the top 3. The top 3 season finale final moments. Number 3 comes from season 7, the episode The Dragon and the Wolf. This was a shortened season. This is the moment where we knew from the episode before that the Night King had killed the dragon, and at the end of that episode had raised that dragon from the dead, with the blue eyes. And this is the moment where the wall comes down. Night King takes the wall down, and the army of the dead start marching south. It was an epic moment. It was originally ranked higher for me because it was an epic moment, but I had to lower it because it didn't lead to enough for us in season 8. Yes, it was a great way to end this season, but again, there are flaws. So that's number 3. We'll talk more about that. All right, top 2. Coming in at number 2 from season 5, finale title Mother's Mercy. This is a big one. This is a big one. This one almost made me quit the show. This is the season and the final moment that ended with the death of Jon Snow, where they turn on him and they kill him and he is dead. I will be honest with you, season 5 was tough. Sansa dealing with everything she had to deal with Ramsay. Arya having a tough time with it in the House of Black and White with the Faceless Men. Jon Snow. Now he's dead. No, I can't take it. I'm done. I'm done. I needed that from season 5's finale to season 6's premiere, almost a year. I needed that year to come down from that. I know that's a lot. It's a TV show. I have that perspective. But I was so angry, so upset at the death of Jon Snow. I needed all that time. And I needed all the theory videos to tell me, you know what, Melisandre, the raising and Beric Dondarrion gets raised from the dead, he'll probably come back. So that was a freaking great way to end a season. A flawed season, still great, but it was a gut punch. And that scene comes right after Cersei's Walk of Atonement, another great season finale moment. So Cersei's Walk of Atonement, massive scene for just an epic character, then the death of Jon Snow. That's heavy. Now, number 1, the best and biggest finale ending moment. This is an absolute no-brainer. This was the easiest one. Comes from the finale of season 6, episode titled The Winds of Winter. Remember, season 6, episode 9, Battle of the Bastards. Then episode 10, Winds of Winter. These two episodes are the best 1-2 punch in Game of Thrones. It ends the final moment with Dany and her crew sailing west to Westeros. Finally, after 6 seasons of Dany and all of it building up, she is now doing it. She's got Dornish. She's got the Tyrells. She's got the Dothraki. She's got the Unsullied. She has all her dragons, all 3 of them. She's got the Ironborn with her. She's got massive fleet, and the music. Ramin Djawadi is just brilliant in this moment, and she's sailing west. And we're thinking, finally, we are finally going to have that showdown. It was a letdown, but at this moment, all right, this is it. And keep in mind, this came right after Cersei is crowned queen. She had blown up the sept. So right before we see Dany, see Cersei being crowned queen of the Iron Kingdom. I'm sorry, of the 7 kingdoms, and sitting on the Iron Throne, and Jaime giving her that look. And right before that, Jon was named King in the North at Winterfell. And right before that was the Tower of Joy flashback and the reveal that Jon Snow is not Ned Stark's son, but rather Lyanna Stark's son. So, Winds of Winter, Season 6, Tower of Joy flashback, revealing Jon Snow is indeed not Ned Stark's son. No. Then it goes right into Jon Snow being named King of the North. Then it goes right into Cersei being crowned queen of the 7 kingdoms. Then it goes right into Dany and her crew sailing west to Westeros. Epic way to end a season. Epic way to end an episode. And the episode started with Cersei blowing up the sept. Just that whole episode. Probably the best episode in the whole series. And plus combined with the episode before Battle of the Bastards. So, those are my rankings. The best second to last episode, what we would call, many of us would call the finale, the way to wrap up, to really just blow up the season. And then the best finale moment, what we would call the epilogue to the entire season. How did that season end? Those are my rankings. I'm curious what you think. I'm also curious if there are other, for you huge Game of Thrones fans, what other things do you want to talk about? What other lists would you like? What other examinations would you like me to do? I have had some requests, so I'll, every week or two here or there, when we have a little bit of a lull in pop culture activity going on, I'll jump in with some Game of Thrones stuff. Or I'll just jump in with some Game of Thrones stuff because I have Game of Thrones stuff and I love doing it. So that's it. Again, we thank you for following us on all the social media platforms and listening to us, liking, subscribing, checking us out on YouTube, checking us out at the fandomacademy.com, buying some stuff. Thank you for your support. And what is dead may never die. Have a great day, everyone. Peace.